Have you ever wondered why, after decades of hard work and consistent income, so many people over 50 still struggle financially despite doing everything right? It's a puzzling reality that affects millions of middle-class Americans, working diligently their entire lives only to find themselves financially vulnerable precisely when they should be most secure. Has this ever happened to you? You get that long-awaited promotion or bonus, and within weeks, it somehow vanishes into thin air. Upgraded appliances, a newer car, or perhaps renovations to that house that seems to constantly demand more of your hard-earned money. That pattern, repeated over decades, creates what financial experts call the income illusion, the false belief that a good salary automatically translates to wealth. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the globe. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. What you're about to discover might surprise you. The middle class isn't struggling from a lack of income. Rather, it's struggling because of a fundamental misunderstanding about what creates actual wealth. After 30 or 40 years in the workforce, many people over 50 have unconsciously developed a habit that's devastatingly effective at keeping them financially trapped, trading tomorrow's security for today's appearance. Stay with me until the end of this video because we're going to expose a system deliberately designed not to make you rich, but to keep you comfortable enough to stop thinking critically about your financial future. By the time most people reach their 50s, they've established a nearly automatic pattern. With each pay raise comes an upgrade in liabilities. Bigger homes, newer cars, more expensive vacations, all while mistaking better possessions for a better financial position. Think about it. The typical middle-class household earning $100,000 or more annually often has less than $10,000 in liquid savings. Why? Because they've spent decades building an impressive facade rather than a solid financial foundation. They've been sold a narrative that your home, car, and lifestyle represent success, when in reality, they're often elaborate financial traps disguised as achievements. The truly wealthy understand something that the middle class has never been taught. Real wealth grows invisibly through assets that generate income while you sleep, not through possessions that demand maintenance, depreciate rapidly, and feed our insatiable desire for status. After decades of working, many over 50s continue this pattern, buying depreciating luxury items on credit instead of building real wealth through income-producing assets. What makes this situation particularly tragic is that by age 50, the window for compound growth, the true miracle of wealth building, begins to narrow. And yet, it's precisely at this age when many double down on the very behaviors that have kept them financially vulnerable. If you're serious about breaking free from these middle-class money traps, hit that subscribe button now. I share financial wisdom that goes against the mainstream, the kind that actually builds wealth instead of just the appearance of it. What sets the truly wealthy apart from the middle class isn't just their bank balance, it's their invisible wealth strategy. While most people in their 50s and beyond continue to pour money into visible status symbols, luxury cars, designer clothes, lavish vacations captured for social media, the genuinely wealthy follow a completely different path. They understand a profound truth about wealth creation that remains hidden from most. True financial growth happens in silence, away from applause and admiration. This mindset transformation is something I've observed in countless case studies of self-made millionaires. They acquire assets that generate income while everyone else acquires liabilities that drain their resources. Think about it. When was the last time someone complimented you on your dividend portfolio or your cash-flowing rental property? These wealth-building vehicles don't turn heads at dinner parties, but they're the bedrock of genuine financial independence. The hidden truth is that showing wealth and building wealth are fundamentally opposing strategies. Every dollar spent displaying success is a dollar that can't compound and work for you. By the time most people reach their 50s, they've spent decades perfecting the wrong skill, appearing wealthy rather than becoming wealthy. And that decision creates a paradox that's incredibly difficult to escape. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic because the consequences of this pattern extend far beyond mere financial statements. What the middle class has actually constructed over decades isn't freedom at all. It's what I call the golden cage. It's a beautiful prison of their own making, with granite countertops, luxury car payments, and a lifestyle that demands constant maintenance and funding. The revelation that shakes many to their core is realizing they've spent 30 years building not financial independence, but financial dependence. Their journey has led them to a place where they've mistaken their familiar lifestyle for security. That corner, office, company car, and respectable title give the impression of success, but behind the scenes, many executives in their 50s and 60s are just as financially fragile as their younger colleagues. This comfortable cage feels like an achievement because society has programmed us to value possessions over possibilities. We celebrate the acquisition of things rather than the elimination of financial stress. And this impact is most profound for those over 50 who have less time to correct course and who face the growing reality that their cage, however gilded, may become their permanent residence. The middle class continues to confuse comfort for freedom and spending for success. Two expensive delusions that only reveal their true cost in the latter half of life. True wealth isn't about having everything you want. It's about needing very little while owning assets that work tirelessly on your behalf. It's about creating options rather than obligations, possibilities rather than payments. If you're recognizing this pattern in your own life or in someone close to you, write in the comments, "I see the cage." Sometimes naming what constrains us is the first step toward breaking free. What many middle-class individuals fail to recognize until it's too late is that debt doesn't just consume their money, it silently steals something far more valuable: optionality. This concept of optionality represents the true essence of wealth. It's the freedom to pivot when opportunities arise, to say no to unfulfilling work, to weather economic storms without panic, and to make decisions based on what you truly want, rather than what you must do to maintain your lifestyle. By the time most people reach their 50s, they've unwittingly traded decades of this precious optionality for possessions that often don't retain value. The transformation is subtle but profound. They've exchanged the freedom to choose for the obligation to pay. I've witnessed countless professionals who appear successful on paper, yet find themselves trapped in careers they've outgrown simply because their financial obligations leave them no alternative path. The revelation that truly shifts perspective is understanding that a high credit score, something many middle-class people pride themselves on, merely measures how well you play by the lender's rules, not how financially free you actually are. It's a metric of compliance, not independence. Behind the scenes of many successful middle-class lives lies a web of financial commitments that requires constant maintenance and leaves little room for authentic choice. Now, I want to go even deeper into the psychological impact of this financial architecture. Beyond the tangible costs of interest payments and fees, debt extracts what I call the fear tax, a constant, invisible drain on your emotional and mental resources. This tax doesn't appear on any statement, but its cost is immeasurable. People over 50, who should be approaching their most financially confident years, instead often find themselves filtering every decision through a lens of fear. fear of job loss, fear of market downturns, fear of health issues that could derail their financial house of cards. The journey that was supposed to lead to peace of mind instead created a mindset of quiet anxiety. This fear tax manifests in staying in unfulfilling jobs, avoiding necessary risks, and making decisions from a place of scarcity rather than abundance. The irony is painful. After decades of hard work, many find themselves more financially vulnerable than ever. Not because they didn't earn enough, but because their financial architecture was built on borrowed foundation. The fear tax doesn't just limit financial choices, it reshapes your entire decision-making framework. When you owe significant debt, you start viewing the world through the eyes of someone who can't afford disruption. Innovation requires risk, joy requires presence, and growth requires investment. All of which become increasingly difficult when financial fear dominates your thought patterns. If you've felt this weight of financial concern affecting decisions in your life, type, "I've paid the fear tax" in the comments. Recognizing this hidden cost is the first step toward reclaiming your financial and psychological freedom. One of the most profound misconceptions that plagues the middle class is the confusion between credit and capital. This fundamental misunderstanding has caused generations to pursue a mirage of wealth rather than the real thing. Credit is access to someone else's money that must be repaid with interest, while capital is money that works for you, generating returns without additional labor. Yet countless individuals in their 50s and beyond still haven't grasped this critical distinction. The revelation that changes everything is this: borrowed money cannot build lasting wealth unless it's used to acquire assets that generate more income than the cost of borrowing. But that's rarely how the middle class uses credit. Instead, they've spent decades using loans and credit cards to finance lifestyle enhancements, believing they're investing when they're actually digging deeper financial holes. Don't let another day pass trapped in financial mediocrity. Subscribe to this channel for the uncomfortable truths about money that most financial advisors won't tell you. Because transforming your financial future begins with transforming how you think about wealth. Behind the scenes, this journey of credit-fueled consumption creates a peculiar paradox. By age 50, many people have established stellar credit scores and can borrow substantial sums. But this ability to borrow is mistakenly equated with financial strength. The transformation occurs when you realize that true wealth isn't measured by how much you can borrow, but by how little you need from others. The authentic milestone of financial progress isn't qualifying for a larger loan. It's needing smaller ones or none at all. Yet this wisdom remains obscured for many in their peak earning years who continue building a life that depends on external funding rather than self-sustaining assets. Now, I want to go even deeper into the psychological mechanism that keeps this cycle in motion. I call it the comfort thermostat problem. This phenomenon explains why increased income rarely translates to increased wealth. The pattern works like this. Whenever your financial situation improves, perhaps through a raise, promotion, or inheritance, your expectations for comfort automatically reset to a higher level. This mental recalibration happens so naturally, you barely notice it. The modest home that felt perfect suddenly seems cramped. The reliable car that served you well now feels outdated. The vacation that would have thrilled you years ago now seems inadequate. By age 50, this pattern has typically become so deeply ingrained that it operates on autopilot, making it extraordinarily difficult to redirect resources toward wealth building. The mindset shift required is substantial. It demands the courage to question whether upgrades in comfort actually improve your life in meaningful ways, or merely reset your baseline expectations while depleting resources that could secure your future freedom. For most people, the thermostatic response to increased income is so automatic that it never receives conscious scrutiny. This unconscious programming explains why someone can triple their income over a career, yet still approach retirement with minimal assets. The problem was never the income. It was the automatic adjustment of lifestyle that consumed every additional dollar earned, leaving nothing to transform into productive capital. If you recognize your comfort thermostat constantly adjusting upward with each financial improvement, type "resetting my thermostat" in the comments. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming control of this powerful psychological mechanism. There's a fascinating economic phenomenon that's rarely discussed in financial circles, what I call the monetization of laziness. Over decades, the middle class has unknowingly constructed an entire economy around their own comfort addiction. Every convenience fee, rush delivery charge, and premium service subscription represents a willingness to trade financial resources for immediate gratification. Those over 50 have often spent the longest time entrapped in this system, having grown accustomed to paying significant premiums for convenience throughout their adult lives. The blueprint of this behavior reveals something profound. They've become the passive income for companies specifically designed to monetize impatience. The revelation here is that while many dream of generating passive income, they've actually become the passive income stream for others. Think about the countless services we pay for that our grandparents would have handled themselves. Lawn care, minor home repairs, meal preparation, even assembling furniture. Each outsourced task represents not just the cost of the service, but the opportunity cost of the money that could have been invested and grown. The journey toward financial independence gets interrupted each time convenience is prioritized over capital growth. What's particularly insidious about this pattern is how it's celebrated as self-care or valuing your time, when in reality, it often represents a failure to develop essential skills and resilience. The small decisions to outsource discomfort compound over decades into a significant wealth gap between those who embrace convenience and those who embrace capability. Now, I want to go even deeper into the psychological dimension of this pattern. There exists a fundamental difference in how the wealthy and the middle class perceive discomfort. For the truly wealthy, discomfort isn't something to be avoided. It's tuition. It's the price you pay to learn, grow, and ultimately transcend your current financial limitations. The mindset transformation happens when you begin to see temporary discomfort as an investment rather than a cost. Reading complex financial books instead of watching television, learning to manage investments rather than paying advisors, maintaining your own property rather than hiring services. Each moment of discomfort builds both skills and capital simultaneously. By age 50, many have spent decades medicating, avoiding and outsourcing discomfort rather than using it as the growth catalyst it truly is. They've perfected the art of comfort seeking while never developing the mental muscle needed for wealth building. The wealthy, meanwhile, have cultivated a high tolerance for strategic discomfort, the kind that pays dividends through knowledge, skill development, and financial intelligence. This aversion to productive discomfort explains why many approach retirement age with abundant knowledge about their hobbies and interests, but minimal understanding of investing, tax strategy, or wealth preservation. They've outsourced the intellectual discomfort of learning these subjects and now face the much greater discomfort of financial insecurity. If you've recognized moments where you paid to avoid productive discomfort, type "embracing the tuition" in the comments. Acknowledging this pattern is the first step toward reclaiming these growth opportunities. Beneath the surface of many financial decisions lies a powerful psychological driver that I call the status trap. This phenomenon explains why rational people make irrational financial choices decade after decade. The revelation is startling yet simple. Most people don't buy a car, they buy attention. They don't purchase a home, they purchase approval. The clothes, the vacations, the renovations, all are often unconscious attempts to secure validation rather than to create genuine value in their lives. By the time most people reach 50, they've invested decades and hundreds of thousands of dollars into purchasing self-worth from people who, frankly, don't care. This blueprint for financial decisions creates a dependency on external validation that becomes increasingly expensive to maintain. The transformation required is moving from "how will this make me look" to "how will this make me feel and function in the long term." What's particularly tragic about this journey is how it erodes authentic confidence. True confidence comes from financial security and freedom of choice, yet many sacrifice both in pursuit of the appearance of success. Behind the scenes, many who appear prosperous are actually one paycheck away from significant financial stress, having traded substance for symbols throughout their adult lives. The awakening happens when you realize that the truly wealthy rarely display their financial power through consumption. They don't need the validation. Their wealth provides something far more valuable than attention. It provides options, security, and peace of mind. These benefits remain invisible to others, but create immeasurable value for the owner. Now, I want to go even deeper into perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of middle-class financial strategy: home ownership. The cultural obsession with home ownership has kept the middle class working, borrowing, and staying put for generations. It's been brilliantly marketed as the cornerstone of financial responsibility, yet it often functions as a sophisticated trap. Those over 50 frequently have their wealth disproportionately tied to illiquid housing, mistaking a mortgage nearly paid off as the pinnacle of financial achievement. The hidden truth is that a paid-off home provides shelter, not income. It demands property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. It takes from your financial resources rather than contributing to them. What rarely gets discussed is the opportunity cost of having so much capital locked away in a single illiquid asset. Many approach retirement with a valuable home, but insufficient liquid investments or cash flow to support their desired lifestyle. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that your home isn't an investment unless it generates income. Otherwise, it's an expense with sentimental value. This mindset shift doesn't mean home ownership is wrong. It means approaching it strategically rather than emotionally. The wealthy understand that a home should be purchased conservatively, maintained efficiently, and balanced with liquid income-producing assets. They see housing as one component of a diversified wealth strategy, not as the strategy itself. If you've found yourself questioning whether your home is truly building your wealth or simply consuming your resources, type "rethinking my biggest asset" in the comments. This awareness could be the first step toward a more balanced approach to housing in your financial picture. One of the most costly confusions that persists well into the later stages of life is the inability to distinguish between genuine investment and mere speculation. This misconception has led countless middle-class individuals astray, particularly those over 50 who should be consolidating wealth rather than gambling with it. The blueprint of true investing is remarkably different from what many consider investing in their daily financial lives. True investment involves purchasing assets that generate ongoing income or appreciate based on fundamental value creation. Speculation, meanwhile, is essentially betting on price changes driven by what other people might pay in the future. The revelation that transforms financial outcomes is recognizing that patience and disciplined analysis, not excitement or timing, are the foundations of sustainable wealth growth. After decades in the workforce, many people over 50 still chase trends, cryptocurrencies, meme stocks, and hot tips rather than building wealth through the unsexy path of consistent, diversified asset acquisition. The psychological draw of excitement and quick wins often overpowers the rational understanding that wealth accumulates gradually through compound growth. Behind the scenes of many retirement accounts is a graveyard of speculative moves that promised riches but delivered losses. What's particularly dangerous about this confusion is how it accelerates in later years when many feel pressure to catch up on retirement savings. This urgency often drives increasingly risky behavior precisely when financial stability should be the priority. The mindset shift required is substantial, from seeking excitement and vindication to embracing boredom and verification in your financial decisions. Now, I want to go even deeper into a related misconception that keeps the middle class financially vulnerable despite decades of hard work. What I call the income worship problem. This phenomenon explains why many individuals reach their peak earning years without achieving financial independence. They've been solving the wrong equation all along. Middle-class earners often place almost religious faith in income, believing that if they could just earn more, get that promotion, land that better job, secure that side hustle, their financial troubles would finally resolve. Yet by age 50, many have increased their income multiple times over their working lives without meaningfully improving their financial position. The missing piece of the puzzle, they never address their relationship with spending. The transformation occurs when you realize that wealth isn't measured by how much you make, but by how much you keep and convert into income-producing assets. A person earning $80,000 who saves and invests $20,000 annually is building wealth faster than someone earning $200,000 but saving nothing. This mathematical reality is simple, yet remains obscured for those who believe salvation lies in the next income increase. The journey toward financial independence requires recognizing that every income increase creates a critical decision point. Will these new resources accelerate your path to freedom, or will they be absorbed into an expanding lifestyle that keeps you dependent on external income? For those approaching retirement age, this decision becomes increasingly consequential as the runway for correction shortens. If you found yourself chasing higher income for years while your net worth hasn't grown proportionally, type "income isn't wealth" in the comments. This recognition could be your first step toward redirecting your financial energy where it truly matters. Perhaps the most insidious financial burden afflicting the middle class isn't imposed by the government at all. It's what financial strategists call the ignorance tax. This self-imposed penalty silently extracts wealth through bad loans, high-interest credit cards, poor investment choices, unnecessary insurance policies, and countless other financial missteps. Unlike official taxes, this one never appears on any statement, yet its cumulative impact over decades can eclipse all other financial drains combined. Those over 50 have often paid this voluntary tax the longest, having signed countless financial agreements without fully understanding the terms. The hidden revelation is that financial institutions aren't designed to educate you. They're designed to profit from your knowledge gaps. Behind the scenes of every easy monthly payment and convenient financing option is a sophisticated system built to extract maximum value from financial illiteracy. The transformation begins when you realize that in the financial realm, what you don't know absolutely hurts you. Every percentage point of unnecessary interest, every excessive fee, every suboptimal investment decision compounds over time into substantial lost wealth. By retirement age, the difference between the financially educated and the financially ignorant often isn't thousands of dollars. It's hundreds of thousands or even millions. What's particularly troubling about this pattern is how it intensifies rather than diminishes with age. As financial products grow more complex and options multiply, many in their 50s and beyond retreat further into familiar but costly financial habits rather than investing time in education. The journey toward financial literacy feels increasingly daunting precisely when its benefits would be most valuable. Now, I want to go even deeper into what might be the most dangerous financial trap of all, one that doesn't involve specific financial products or decisions, but rather a state of mind. I call it the comfort trap, and it explains why even intelligent, capable people fail to make necessary changes to their financial trajectory. The deadliest financial trap isn't debt or overspending. It's thinking you're fine when you're merely comfortable. By age 50, many middle-class individuals have achieved just enough comfort to stop questioning, learning, and adapting. They've confused stability with security, mistaking a predictable monthly income for genuine financial resilience. This misalignment leaves them profoundly vulnerable to economic shifts, health challenges, or industry disruptions. The awakening happens when you recognize that comfort is not the same as freedom. Comfort is having enough to maintain your current lifestyle as long as nothing significant changes. Freedom is having enough that you can weather major life changes without financial distress. Those caught in the comfort trap often discover too late that what felt like security was actually a fragile equilibrium dependent on everything going according to plan. This pattern becomes more dangerous with age because the window for correction narrows. While a 30-year-old has decades to adjust course after a financial awakening, someone in their 50s or 60s faces a compressed timeline. The mindset shift required isn't just financial, it's existential. It demands acknowledging that the seemingly safe path might actually be the riskiest option of all. If you've been feeling comfortable with your financial situation, but uncertain about whether you're truly secure, type "comfort isn't security" in the comments. This recognition could be the catalyst for a financial re-evaluation that changes everything. As we've explored these financial traps that keep so many middle-class people locked in cycles of comfortable insecurity, I hope you've recognized patterns in your own life or in the lives of people you care about. This awareness isn't meant to discourage, quite the opposite. Recognizing these patterns is the crucial first step toward breaking free from them, regardless of your age or current financial situation. I create these videos because I genuinely believe financial independence is possible for anyone willing to challenge conventional wisdom and make decisions based on mathematical reality rather than emotional comfort. If you found value in these insights today, consider subscribing to join our community of financial realists. We're not about get-rich-quick schemes or flashy strategies. We're about the unsexy, reliable path to genuine wealth. The financial journey is always more powerful when shared. If something in this video resonated with you personally, leave a comment saying "breaking free from the trap," so I know you made it to the end. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to start their own transformation. If you found this conversation worthwhile, a simple like helps others discover these ideas too. It's a small action that helps expand our community of people committed to financial reality rather than financial illusion. And speaking of financial reality, I've created a video that serves as the perfect next step after today's insights. It explores practical strategies to reverse these middle-class traps, especially for those with fewer years until retirement. Click right here to continue our conversation about creating genuine financial freedom, regardless of where you're starting from. Remember, it's never too late to replace comfortable illusions with uncomfortable truths that set you free. I'll see you in the next video.